The Grand Conclave Hall stretched before Princess Jennifer like a monument to her failures. Crystalline pillars rose toward a vaulted ceiling that displayed the swirling nebulae of the Andromeda sector, while representatives from 43 species stood in perfectly arranged semicircles, their finest nobles gathered to witness what should have been a triumph. Instead, it had become a humiliation. Jennifer's skin shimmered with the bioluminescent patterns of her people, the luminari, delicate traceries of light that pulsed across her azure skin, betraying every emotion she tried to hide. Right now, those patterns flickered with barely contained shame as the seventh noble in succession stepped back from the bonding circle, his reptilian features twisted in disgust. "The Luminari are a dying race," Lord Vexthor hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. "Your star system collapsed. Your people scatter across the galaxy like refugees. What alliance could possibly benefit the Draconis Empire?" The patterns on Jennifer's skin flared crimson, anger she couldn't suppress. But she held her tongue, kept her spine straight, and moved to the next noble in line. The Covenant of Stars had seemed like salvation when the elders first proposed it, a political marriage to unite their scattered people with one of the great galactic powers. Jennifer had volunteered, though she was third in line for a throne that no longer existed. Someone had to save their people. Someone had to try. She had expected negotiations, perhaps some reluctance, not this parade of rejection. The eighth noble, a methane-breathing Voltar encased in an environmental suit, didn't even wait for her to speak. "The Voltar Collective requires genetic compatibility assessments spanning 3 generations. Your species lacks the necessary pedigree." The ninth was worse. Lady Sharakai of the Void Walkers simply laughed, a sound like breaking glass, before turning her back entirely. Jennifer's attendant, an elderly luminari named Mora, touched her arm gently. The gesture made Jennifer's bioluminescence pulse with grief. "We can stop this, Princess. There are other ways." "There are no other ways," Jennifer whispered. "The colony ships are failing. Our people need resources, protection, a place to call home. This is our only chance." But as she approached the 10th noble, she wondered if even this chance was an illusion. Then she saw him. He stood apart from the nobles, near the human delegation at the far edge of the hall. Humans were relatively new to the Galactic Council. Their application for membership had been approved only a generation ago. They held little political power, commanded no vast fleets, controlled no essential resources. They were observers here, nothing more. But this human was watching her with an expression she hadn't seen all day: compassion. He was tall by human standards, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold entire storms. His clothing was simple compared to the elaborate garments of the nobles, just a dark suit with a small Earth insignia on the collar. According to the nameplate projected in her visual overlay, he was Alex Chen, a junior diplomatic aide, someone utterly powerless to help her. Jennifer made it through 7 more rejections, some cruel, some merely indifferent, before her legs began to shake. The bioluminescent patterns across her skin had dimmed to almost nothing, a sign of deep distress among her people. In the audience, she could see other luminari watching with hollow eyes, their own light flickering with shared despair. The 18th noble, a gas being whose thoughts were translated through harmonic frequencies, declared her species biologically obsolete. The 23rd called her people galactic vagrants. When the 27th noble walked away mid-sentence, Jennifer felt something inside her crack. The Grand Conclave Hall blurred before her eyes. Not with tears, the Luminari didn't cry, but with the overwhelming urge to run, to hide, to stop subjecting herself to this systematic destruction of her dignity. She was preparing to do exactly that when footsteps echoed across the polished floor. The human was walking toward her. Alex Chen moved with purpose, his path taking him directly to the bonding circle. The hall fell silent. Nobles whispered among themselves. The human delegation looked confused, then alarmed. "Mr. Chen!" The human ambassador's voice cracked across the space. "You are not authorized!" But Alex had already reached the circle. And then, before the assembled representatives of 43 species, before nobles who commanded star systems and wielded the power of empires, he did something that would echo through galactic history. He knelt. Not a casual genuflection, but a full formal kneel, one knee on the ground, head bowed, right hand over his heart. It was the ancient human gesture of fealty, of respect, of recognition that someone before you was worthy of honor. Jennifer stared at him, her bioluminescence flaring so brightly that several nearby nobles shielded their eyes. "Your Highness," Alex said, his voice steady and clear, "I am nobody. I have no title, no fleet, no planet to offer. I'm just a junior aide who files reports and makes coffee." He looked up at her then, and she saw in his eyes something that made her light pulse golden, genuine respect. "But I have watched 27 so-called nobles reject you, and not one of them saw what I see. A woman who stands unbroken while her world burns. A leader who volunteers to sacrifice her freedom for her people. A princess who maintains her dignity while being treated like refuse." He stood, but kept his eyes level with hers. "Humanity is young to the stars. We have little to offer the Luminari in terms of power or resources, but we remember what it's like to be dismissed, to be called primitive, to have others look down on us." His lips curved into a slight smile. "We also remember that the measure of a civilization isn't in its fleets or territories. It's in how it treats others when no one's forcing them to be decent." The hall erupted. The human ambassador was frantically signaling his staff. Nobles were shouting in multiple languages, their translators struggling to keep up, but Jennifer barely heard them. She was staring at this powerless human who had done what princes and emperors had refused to do, recognize her worth. "You would ally with us?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Your people would shelter the Luminary?" "I can't promise that," Alex admitted. "I'm not authorized to make treaties. I'll probably be fired for this." His smile widened. "But I can promise I'll spend every day arguing for it. And humans, we're stubborn when we believe in something." For the first time in hours, Jennifer smiled. Her bioluminescence blazed across the spectrum. Joy, hope, gratitude, all flowing across her skin in waves of impossible color. "Then let me tell you about my people," she said, extending her hand. Alex took it without hesitation. Behind them, the grand conclave dissolved into chaos, but neither of them noticed. They were too busy talking about the future, one that neither galactic empires nor ancient nobles had believed possible. A future built not on power, but on the simple human act of kneeling before someone who deserved to be lifted up.